All right, everybody, so this video, I'm gonna go over how to do the actual layout markings on your picture frame lumber. In order to get to this point, you have to have already completed the SketchUp model from the previous video. You need to have your teacher and check it to make sure it's all good, and then you need to follow the directions in the video to print it out. So you must have your printout, which has to be done from the MacBook at your table in order to start this next step. Once you have your printout, you need to show this to your teacher, and then they will get you your lumber. Your lumber will be 2 pieces of wood that are 17 inches by 1 5/8 wide by the 3/4 thick, just like the first part you made in your SketchUp video. You're gonna have these. You're gonna have your paper, which has your dimensions on it as you did in the model. The next step is you need to get some tools. So in order to get the tools, you are going to need the ruler and square from your station. So I am right now, I'm at table 7. So when I go to the pegboard to get my ruler and framing square or speed square, we need to get the right number. So I'm table 7 right now. It could be any number table, wherever you're at. So I'm gonna go get my matching tools. So I'm gonna come over here to the board. I'm gonna find the number 7 clip for me, which is right here. Notice how it's hanging from the teeth. And when I take this off the board, it has number 7 here, so now I got the right one. I'm gonna come over to the cabinet, find one of my number 7 rulers right here. I'm gonna bring these back to my table. Now you will have to share a speed square with your partner because we only have one for each group, but that's okay. So to start with, we'll do one board, and then we'll basically replicate it on the other. So you're gonna take one of your pieces of wood here, and then you're basically just going to copy the directions that we made it, the same steps we did on our SketchUp model. So you're gonna measure 9 inches over from the right, 7 inches over from the left. We don't have to worry about the rabbet because the router will take care of that, but we wanted to mark that on the model so you know where the routing has to go for markings later on. So we're gonna take our ruler on our piece of wood. Our 0 is the end of the ruler, so pay attention to that. We need to be careful with that. So we're gonna start here, laying it out so that our ruler is mostly flat. It's nice and even along the bottom edge. We're gonna go over 7 inches and just put a little mark right there. That's 7 inches, just a light little mark. Now we're gonna slide over this way. You can turn it around if you want. I'm just going to put it 9 inches on the end of the ruler. Then I'm gonna come back and mark the end of the ruler right here. Okay, so pretty simple. You've got 2 marks right here and right here. And then what we're gonna do is take your speed square or framing square. A couple things you need to know. There is a little lip or a blade right here that's called that can use to lock onto the side of the wood. So it locks on there, that's very important. Helps that stay square and straight. You've got a 45-degree angle here and obviously a 90-degree angle here. So what we're gonna do first is take this along the bottom edge. So your frame is on the bottom edge. Put your pencil on the mark. Slowly line up your square with your pencil and your mark, and you're just going to lightly draw that across so you have a line all the way across. Do it lightly so you don't dent the wood if it gets out of alignment. Do the same thing, put your pencil on the mark, slide the square over, lightly draw all the way across. Now we have this rectangle in here. We're gonna put an X on that because we're gonna cut that out, and that is going to be scrap. Okay. So then what we're gonna do now is go over our 45-degree angles, just like we have on our paper. We got our 45s. Pretty easy to do, so long as you're paying attention. Now when we do this, we're gonna put our frame rail here up along the top. And we have to be careful lining this up here. We're gonna line it up for this left side, not right on the corner, but a pencil width off so that our pencil goes to the corner. And really wanna make sure that it is flat against it. So what I like to do is squeeze it against the wood down here. I've got it lined up, so I'm just gonna lightly draw across, and your pencil mark should go right through the corner. And then you come over to this end, you have to flip the square over. Same thing here, get it lined up so that your pencil will end up in the corner. And then you are going to get your pencil there ready to go. I need to scooch it just a little bit. Same thing, lightly draw across. So you'll notice now that these two angles go in toward each other, just like on our 3D model. Those are the corners that are going to go in to make the corners of the frame. We'll do the same process over on the 9-inch side. Since the square is facing this way, I'll do it again so it lines up on the top. Get it lined up with the corner. Draw my line, so my pencil line goes right through the corner again, as you see. And then flip it over. And get it lined up. Draw my line. Okay, so now I've got my right 9-inch piece with the angles coming in, my 7-inch piece with the angles coming in. So what we're going to do is mark this a couple of things here so that we know we're doing it right, okay? So what we're going to do here along this part is write bottom. This is bottom. We're going to put some arrows here and bottom with some arrows down here. The reason for that is because when we do our routing, we want this to be actually facing down, and these are going to be the inside edges of the frame, so we need those to be routed. So we've got bottom pointing down, so bottom, and that arrow points to the edge that the router needs to be. What we're going to do is then carefully just roll this over here, okay? And we're going to put a couple arrows this way, and then write to router. So to router with arrows pointing that way. And then to match with the safety test, you're going to put your name. So your first name and your last name and your period number right there. So you've got arrows pointing toward the fence where the router bit's going to be, to router, and then first, last name, and period number. Okay, that is what you're going to do on the second one as well. So the exact same process. So we'll whip through that real quick, and then you're going to do this. We'll have the checks. So we're going to start blank piece of wood, ruler, end of the ruler lined up with the left edge. Mark 7 inches. Come over here, line up 9 inches with the edge of the ruler. Mark the end of the ruler. Take your framing square, pencil on the mark, line it up, draw across, pencil on the mark, slide the square over, draw across, put the X on that. Then we're going to turn our square over. We'll line up our marks, make sure it's nice and square with the edge. And again, we'll get it nice and square through the corner. So we have our 7-inch piece done. Coming along here, got that. Flip the square around, line it up with this corner. Get it nice and straight and draw the line through. So then again, we're going to put our bottom labels. So we're going to write bottom, and we do it right on this edge because most of that will be routed away, and whatever is left over we can just sand off. So bottom pointed down, we're going to roll this over, and just like on the first one, on this edge now we're going to write to router with some arrows pointing that way. And again, your first, last, and period number. Now that you've got that done, what you're going to do is take your pieces over to the supply table along with your parts. So you've got your wood here, you're gonna put your tools away, and then we're gonna check something with your ruler, okay? So we're bringing these back over here. And what you're gonna do is put your square back. Now you notice your square, you have the little frame on the side and the teeth up top. The teeth go on the hooks that hold it. So you've got, again, the teeth here, the little frame on the left, they go on top. Put your ruler back on the cabinet where it belongs. So number 7 onto number 7 hanging on the hook. Now over on the table, we have the template. So you can see it's the same thing you just made. It says template, as the bottom arrows, the X's, okay, the 2 router, and you should have obviously your name there. So what we're gonna do is just take your pieces and first check that they line up with each other. So you're gonna hold your piece even with it, making sure first checking in the middle that they are the same length and width here. And then what you can do is flip it the other way and check each section here. So I'm going to check the 9-inch section, make sure it's lining up at the end marks and that my angles match up. And then I slide it over to the 7-inch section. Again, lining up the edge of the board on that line there. It should line up here, and all my angles should line up. Okay, so everything should look the same between the two. All right, you're gonna check your other piece, same way. First, line them up, make sure your dividing pieces fit, which they line up there. Again, you're gonna check your lengths and your angles to make sure they match up at the right spot. Like that. They look good. And if you flip them over, you've got the 2 router in the same spot. Once you have got them to line up and you've checked it with the template, you'll leave the template here on the supply table, please. You're gonna go back to your spot, let your teacher know they've been inspected, and then you're gonna move on to the next video, which is routing, where you will actually route the channel in your pieces of wood. Have fun, measure carefully, make sure to put your tools back where they belong.